tribal trails. The Son of God, He's near. He chose to walk with us.
The Temple Mount is about 35 acres of property.
Oh, it is.
And in the center of that is what is called the Temple Platform, which is a raised platform accessible only through stairs on all four sides. To get up to the level where the temple stood, where Solomon had leveled everything off and Herod had leveled everything off, so that you have a very, very nice platform up there. You can walk all around today the Golden Dome. But when I think of the Temple Mount and the signs of the Lord's coming, I'm thinking that there are several things that can be true and that are true, that I will talk about just a number of things that are happening in relationship to the future of the Temple Mount and those who are behind these things that have been happening and what they have said, because I have heard them, I have talked to them. And the simple truth is that 35 acres of the Temple Mount is undeniable the most explosive piece of real estate on the face of the earth.
Why is that?
Because it's laid claim to by so many, but especially the Jewish people for whom this is their most holy spot on earth. The place where Solomon built his temple. And the Muslims say it is their third most holy site. The Jews say it is their most holy site. And the tension that exists there is a long-running tension, which is fueled quite heavily by a sense of envy, but along with that, a sense of not being satisfied with what God had designed for them in His program of world history.
Then God said to Abraham, "Regarding Sarai, your wife, her name will no longer be Sarai. From now on, her name will be Sarah, and I will bless her and give you a son from her. Yes, I will bless her richly, and she will become the mother of many nations. Kings of nations will be among her descendants." Then Abraham bowed to the ground, but he laughed to himself in disbelief. "How could I become a father at the age of 100, he thought. And how can Sarah have a baby when she is 90 years old? So Abraham said to God, "May Ishmael live under your special blessing." But God replied, "No, Sarah, your wife, will give birth to a son for you. You will name him Isaac, and I will confirm my covenant with him and his descendants as an everlasting covenant. As for Ishmael, I will bless him also, just as you have asked. I will make him extremely fruitful and multiply his descendants. He will become the father of 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant will be confirmed with Isaac, who will be born to you and Sarah about this time next year."
The father of the Arab nations is traced back to Abraham through Ishmael. And when Ishmael was sent away by Abraham, the angel of God met his mother Hagar and just gave an amazing amount of blessings that God was going to pour on him, which included, as we understand now, almost all of the massive oil deposits that there are in the world. And the Middle East countries, Saudi Arabia, have made multiplied, I would suppose, trillions of dollars from what God gave to them. But they're not happy with that. They want more than that, and they're not satisfied. When we think of the Temple Mount as being a place where we can see signs of His coming, it goes back to the fact that the prophet Daniel was told that in the last of the 70 weeks, there was going to be a covenant that is made with the Jews that permitted them to once again offer blood sacrifices on the Temple Mount, in the temple. And we know that there's no temple standing there today. So that means that before God's program is completed by the end of the age, that a temple will be built there. And that temple is going to be actually the place where the man of sin, the son of perdition, is going to go in and sit in the Holy of Holies and say, "I am God, worship me."
Oh, I can't wait to see Jesus, just like John talks about him in Revelation. He saw the Father send his angels to the four corners of the earth. He saw them gather all the people to the place where Jesus would be revealed. What a day that will be when Jesus is revealed, when the Father places golden crowns upon his head. He will ride a great white horse, he will wear a kingly robe, and every knee will bow, every tongue confess him King of kings, Lord of lords.
There is this desire to build a temple. And in a quick little look at history, the first temple was built by Solomon. Second temple was built by Zerubbabel. The third temple was literally built by Herod. And many people say that the temple of Zerubbabel was actually just added on to by Herod. And so you only have one or two temples that have stood there. But from an archaeological standpoint, I have talked to the Israeli archaeologists and asked this question directly. Would you say that the temple that Zerubbabel built is actually just the same as the temple that Herod built? Herod enlarged it, he made it more beautiful, he made the platform and the Temple Mount larger than it was, but it's still the second temple. And I said, no, Herod destroyed everything. Herod actually rebuilt the temple. So you have the temple of Zerubbabel, and then you have the temple of Herod, which was there when Jesus was there, and was destroyed by the Romans. Now we're going to have a fourth temple is going to be built that will match up with the breaking of that treaty with Israel, where the Jews will have been offering blood sacrifices. And then we have this statement in Zechariah chapter 6 that the branch, the Messiah, is going to build his own temple. So we're actually looking at 5 temples.
This is what the Lord of Heaven's armies says. Here is the man called the branch. He will branch out from where he is and build the temple of the Lord. Yes, he will build the temple of the Lord. Then he will receive royal honor and rule as king from his throne. He will also serve as priest from his throne, and there will be perfect harmony between his 2 roles.
He will be the one who bears the glory, and he will perform the twofold function of a priest and a king. And he will be the center of peace. The council of peace shall be between them both. Who are them both? The priest and the king.
Oh, okay.
These 2 offices. We know that today, and I want to use that to jump to what we see in Jerusalem today and the Temple Mount, that are clearly signs that we're approaching these events. Because number one, there is a desire to build a temple which has been not in place for 2,000 years. There have been no blood sacrifices. We know that the Jews are going to actually make a covenant that will allow them to resume the blood sacrifices. And there's a group in Jerusalem today, and I have talked to their leader, and I have talked to many of their group, numbering between 10 and 15,000 people who are zealous for God and zealous for the God of Israel, who call themselves the Temple Mount Faithful. Temple Mount Faithful. And their whole purpose in life is to rebuild the temple and then to see the temple resume its operations. They have developed all of the blueprints, the architectural blueprints. You can actually see them online. And it's interesting that with the Golden Dome standing there today, they have online blueprints of the temple the Jews, which whether it's a very quick prefabricated one or a very expensive one, it can be built without touching the Golden Dome. Because there is another spot on the Temple Mount that is not under the Golden Dome that has a stone, which is bedrock, which is emerging through the stones of the Temple Mount platform, the flat stones that Herod laid down side by side to have a flat surface to work from. There is a stone 75 yards to the north of the Golden Dome, and I have paced it myself. I've looked at the rock that is there. It's flat. It would have been a good one to offer sacrifice on, which is what Abraham did with his son Isaac. The stone under the Golden Dome, I do not agree, matches what would be needed. And it's very angular, very rough. And Josephus, who was there with the Romans, looking at the Temple Mount from the Mount of Scopus in the year 70, described the stone that was in the Holy of Holies. And the stone that he described, the description matches what is under a cupola, a Muslim cupola that has been placed over the second stone that is 75 yards to the north. Interestingly, the Arabs have called it by two names. One is the Dome of the Spirits, and the other is the Dome of the Scroll, or the Dome of the Tablets, if you like. We know that in the Holy of Holies was the Ark of the Covenant, and in the Ark of the Covenant was the tablets with the law on them. And it's interesting that even to this day, and that stone lines up perfectly with the eastern gate that goes up to the Mount of Olives. They have drawn the blueprints up. They have quarried the cornerstone, which is quarried according to the instructions given to Solomon, exactly the same instructions, so that it is a pure cornerstone. They are now studying diligently as much as they can with regard to where exactly the location of the Holy of Holies is. And of course, they're looking at those two exposed rocks, where Abraham might have offered his sacrifice of Isaac.
Sometime later, God tested Abraham's faith. "Abraham?" God called. "Yes," he replied, "here I am." "Take your son, your only son, yes, Isaac, whom you love so much, and go to the land of Moriah. Go and sacrifice him as a burnt offering on one of the mountains, which I will show you." So Solomon began to build the temple of the Lord in Jerusalem on Mount Moriah, where the Lord had appeared to David, his father. The temple was built on the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite, the site that David had selected.
A second sign that I see on the Temple Mount is that the Temple Mount faithful sent out a worldwide call to the Jewish people who are scattered. Anybody who has the name Cohen, C-O-H-E-N, or a variation of it, comes from the priestly class. And they know that they will need the priesthood in place in order for the temple to begin to function, just as they did at the time when the temple was rebuilt by Zerubbabel. And then they asked anybody who believes that they qualify as a priest, come and present your credentials. They came, and some were rejected and some were accepted. And then the temple services began. This has taken place a second time. I'm guessing 15 to 20 years ago, people came from all over the world to present their credentials that they qualify. They found a large group over in North Africa, over in a portion right close to Libya, who had remained isolated for 2,000 years. They have been there and they have not intermarried, and their genetic code is different, but they can recognize their genetic code in distinction from all of the other tribes of Israel, because they have preserved. They are training those priests that have come and qualified.
They are.
I have gone by their training schools in the walls of the old city and listened to these priests being trained for their function within the priesthood when the temple is standing. This is going on every single day of the week except probably Shabbat. They have prepared all of the vessels that will be needed for the temple to resume operations, including the golden menorah, the most expensive item that is needed. They have reinstituted, and you can see them today.
Oh.
By going to Jerusalem and by going into the Jewish quarter to a building that is called the Temple Mount Institute, you can go in and you can see the robe of the high priest. You can see the gold and silver vessels that they will use for transporting blood and for washing the altar and all of that. Everything is there. And then along with that, they began fitting the robes, sewing them and fitting them to the priests that have been training. And they have been fitted, and their robes are there, ready to go. Let me just say that I was in the Temple Mount Institute one day, and I heard an American tourist, could tell by his accent he was American, and he asked one of the rabbis, and he put it this way, very American, "You guys want to build a temple so badly. Why don't you just go ahead and build it?" And I thought, well, that's not a nice way to ask.
Yeah.
But he was a bit arrogant. And the rabbi said to him very gently, he said, "If we were given permission by the mayor of Jerusalem or by the prime minister, we would be building tomorrow." And I thought, wow, that is incredible. This is the temple that is going to be used by the son of perdition, I expect, but it's going to allow the Jews to begin to resume their sacrifices.
When David was an old man, he appointed his son Solomon to be king over Israel. David summoned all the leaders of Israel, together with the priests and Levites. All the Levites who were 30 years old or older were counted, and the total came to 38,000. Then David said, "From all the Levites, 24,000 will supervise the work at the temple of the Lord. Another 6,000 will serve as officials and judges. Another 4,000 will work as gatekeepers, and 4,000 will praise the Lord with the musical instruments I have made."
And of course, harps are essential for what goes on in the temple, as the priests play the harps and so on. At the dedication of the temple, you're going to need 4,000 harpists, based on research into what Nehemiah had. God moved in the hearts of a Jewish couple living in Europe. And this couple, their names are Michael and Shoshana Harari, felt the call of God, and I've talked to them. They're a wonderful, beautiful couple. And he's a skilled, beautiful harp maker. I wish I could talk to you about these harps, because I played them. But they felt the call to go to Jerusalem and to begin to build the harps for the temple.
Well, these were instruments that were used for praising and worshiping God. And you really get a feeling of that, a connection with that, going back to the ancient way. And I feel that the most important thing is that you play truly from your own heart, that you don't try to imitate someone's style or someone's technique or even the music, although it's fun, of course, to play songs. But to play your own song, that is the most special thing. And I feel that it's a special way of serving God.
We've been building these harps now for 14 years in Jerusalem. And we've spent many years perfecting the design and perfecting the sound and working on the acoustics and the stringing and the designs until we have something that we feel it would be good enough for the temple, for King David, or for just anyone who'd like to be a part of Israel. And everybody has a song in their heart, and the harp just brings it out.
These two harps that you see here are called the Nevel and the Kinnor. Both of these harps are very ancient instruments. They go back thousands of years. The oldest, however, is the Kinnor. It goes back about 5,000 years to a man called Yuval, who's mentioned in the Bible as the great-great-grandson of Adam and Eve. He was a shepherd, and he would sit while he grazed his flocks by the river, by the grass, and he would play music probably to amuse himself and pass the time. But it was King David, as a shepherd boy, who played this instrument because he had to speak to God through music. The Nevel is 3,000 years old in design, found in a cave in Megiddo, and it was used primarily in the temple because it has a much louder sound, and it's very, very beautiful. Both of them were so precious to us during our life here, not only in the temple, not only by King David and the prophets, but they were used when there would be a wedding or a homecoming or some happy occasion, and they were so connected with us that when we left the land to go into exile, we hung our harps on the willow trees. It's only been the last 14 years since Micha has been restoring the Harp of David that they have come into the world again. And I don't think it's an accident that they've come at this time, because it must be that it's time to sing the songs of Zion again and time to praise God with our instrument.
He has already built over 4,000 harps for the temple. They had a program in which people could become a keeper of a harp, which would mean that they would keep the harp in their home safe. I even had permission to play it. But when the temple was built and they needed those harps for its dedication, they would send out worldwide the call for those who are keepers of the harp to bring their harp to Jerusalem. I almost went with it. I mean, it was expensive. I would have had to pay on time because the harps began at $2,500. But then it occurred to me, number one, I don't have the money. But number two, when the call goes out for the priests to come to bring the harps, which is during the time of Jacob's trouble, the 70th week, I believe the church has already been raptured. It has already been removed. So I'm not going to be here. So if a letter arrived at my home saying, bring your harp, I won't be there to take it back.
With his saints who gave their lives for him. For that great day will be theirs too, when God in Christ makes all things new. No more sorrow, no more tears or pain, when the redeemed with Christ will forever reign. What a day that will be when Jesus is revealed, when the Father places golden crowns upon his head. He will ride a great white horse. He will wear a kingly robe, and every knee will bow, every tongue confess him, King of kings, Lord of lords. He'll be riding a great white horse, King of kings, Lord of lords. He'll be riding a great white horse, King of kings, Lord of lords. What a day that will be when Jesus is revealed, when the Father places golden crowns upon his head. He will ride a great white horse. He will wear a kingly robe, and every knee will bow, every tongue confess him, King of kings, Lord of lords. He'll be riding a great white horse. He'll be riding a great white horse. He'll be riding a great white horse, King of kings, Lord of lords. He'll be riding a great white horse, King of kings,